Yo, did y'all see that new 1090 Jake video?
Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS.
So basically, 1090 Jake is covering Young Thug's brother Unfoonk, and basically he's making a point that Unfoonk, which is Young Thug's own brother, did worse snitching than Gunna. And here's the thing: nobody is talking about anybody cooperating other than Gunna.
It's 1090 Jake, and I'm rocking with y'all rocking with me. And for this video, we're gonna be speaking on Unfunk, the YSL member who snitched worse than Gunna. With the release of Gunna's new song addressing his snitching, a video went viral of the song killing the vibe of an entire club. Dirt called him a rat while speaking with Akademiks, Boosie called him a rat while speaking with Vlad, and it's uncertain who actually within hip-hop is willing to stand next to him. But come to find out, there's someone within the YSL indictment that not only snitched worse than Gunna, he full-on betrayed his own blood brother, Young Thug. 34-year-old Quantavious Greer, who raps by the name Unfunk, has recently been exposed for snitching worse than Gunna in another case of selective politicking.
Oh shit.
One of 28 men indicted in the YSL case, Unfunk also took a plea deal which spared him a prison sentence and ultimately set him free on probation. Charged with conspiracy to violate the RICO Act and theft by receiving a stolen firearm, Unfunk would receive a 12-year prison sentence with 2 years credited as time served, while the remaining 10 years was to be served on probation. He'd be required to perform 750 hours of community service, stay away from firearms, and commit no criminal acts. But in return, he'd admit to a long list of questions specifically designed to convict those higher up in the YSL food chain, such as his own brother, Young Thug. As part of the special conditions of his sentencing, Unfunk agreed to testify that YSL is a gang. He'd admit to being a member of the Goodfellas gang and becoming associated with YSL in 2019. He'd admit that in 2 separate occasions he spoke with YSL members on securing protection for a YSL member in jail and getting revenge on another inmate for harming a YSL member in jail. He'd agree to testify discussing the use of a drone to fly cell phones into the jail and would acknowledge multiple gang identifiers of YSL to further confirm YSL is in fact a gang. He'd agree he has personal knowledge of members of YSL having committed criminal acts such as murder, robbery, etc., and understands that if he takes back anything he's admitted to testifying, his plea deal will be revoked. Not only would he sign his initials next to everything he agreed to, but court transcripts would also show he answered yes to every question inside of a courtroom and in front of a judge. With Unfunk pleading out in December of 2022, he'd only last 5 months before violating his probation. He was pulled over by Atlanta police for the window tint on his Mercedes when they located a Glock handgun inside of the vehicle. Going in front of a judge, he was spared nothing as he was sentenced to serve the remaining 9 years in state prison. But prison was Unfunk's second home, as he'd already spent much of his life in there and would have spent the remainder of his life sentence in prison if it wasn't for Young Thug. Back in 2007, Unfunk arranged the robbery of 2 men who had cashed a $1,500 check. Having the victims unknowingly driven to him, he approached the vehicle in all black demanding the money. They gave it up as he and the co-defendant went in their pockets, and when they told the victims to walk away, one of the men threw his jacket at Unfunk, who opened fire, shooting the man in the stomach and ultimately killing him. Unfunk and his co-defendant would be indicted by Fulton County in 2010 and months later sentenced to life in prison. In an interview with High Atlanta, Unfunk would share the story of how back in 2017, he was sitting in a prison cell when he got a call from Young Thug on his cell phone. Now a superstar in the rap game, Thug would tell him his new lawyer was none other than Brian Steele, the most notorious hip-hop lawyer in Atlanta who's currently representing Thug in the YSL indictment. Unfunk would later speak with the lawyer who promised his release within the next 2 years, And in a series of appeals and motions, Young Thug was able to finance and essentially buy back his brother's freedom. A selfless act that would end in betrayal, as Unfunk, who only served 11 years of his life sentence, agreed to testify against the very gang Young Thug is alleged to have founded. Maybe it's the fact that Gunna is a successful rapper that makes him the most hated within the YSL indictment. But in all reality, there's many more that have done worse against YSL and specifically against Thug, who have yet to be publicly shamed. Unfunk is now on his way back to prison, only to be reunited with his co-defendant who was never released and is still serving a life sentence for a murder he didn't commit because he didn't have a rich brother to pay for the lawyer. Now everybody hates Gunna to the point that they don't even want to move around in the club to his music. Everybody just sits still and waits until the song gets turned off. I don't know anybody that wants to collab with Gunna. Some of the biggest names in hip hop are speaking against him, but nobody is going against anybody else that cooperated in the case. Young Thug's own brother was serving a life sentence, and because Thug paid for the best lawyer in Atlanta, he got out. Only to come home, join YSL, 2 years later get indicted in a RICO, and then tell on the entire YSL and everything that happens within YSL, wiping their nose, slat, all that shit, right? Now he's going back to prison for 9 years, and he's gonna see his co-defendant, who was there when the murder happened, and his co-defendant still has a life sentence, even though Unfunk, or whatever his fucking name is, was the one that pulled the trigger. He didn't even pull the trigger, and he's still doing life for the body. See, there's so many rappers that talk about Young Thug having a good high, and this is another example of Thug doing a selfless act, getting his brother out of prison, paying for the lawyer, giving his freedom back. He gave it all up. He's willing to testify, and the excuse is gonna be, I violated my plea. I got caught with a gun. I never actually testified, but you were willing to. So does that make him a rat? Because Gunna hasn't testified either, but he admitted to all the same shit. And furthermore, Unfunk wouldn't have even had the opportunity to do any of this if Young Thug didn't buy his freedom, getting him out of prison, essentially giving him another chance at life. And even after, willing to testify, signs off on everything, yes ma'am's the judge to death, he only lasts 5 fucking months because he gets caught in a Mercedes tinted out with a Glock. It's almost like he didn't want to be free. He's been locked up since he was like 18, did 11 years, got out for 2 years, went right back. Now he's gone for another 9, probably be what, 40 something when he gets out. Probably won't even get out. Probably do some dumb shit just to stay in there. He seems to be more comfortable in there than out here. But it just goes to show you, it's selective politicking. Everybody wants to hate Gunna, but isn't given the same energy to everybody else involved in the case. And maybe it's because of Gunna's success. Maybe it's because Gunna is attempting to revamp his career after getting out. But what is anyone else doing that's anything different? They just weren't on shit to begin with. Gunna's successful. Maybe that's the difference that's causing all the hate. But y'all let me know y'all thoughts and comments in the comment section. It's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all, y'all rocking with me. Until next time.
Holy. Hey, I think he makes some valid points. I've always just said, man, this whole thing about snitching, it's never gonna be really just completely black and white, even though they tell you it's black and white. There's always contextual shit you gotta analyze. Now the whole did you snitch or did you not snitch when it comes to the YSL case, it's if Young Thug thinks you snitched. So is Young Thug gonna think his brother snitched? No. Is he gonna think the other guy snitched that he's still cool with in whatever way? No. Now if he thinks Gunna snitched, people are saying Gunna's a snitch. I don't care either way, man. Again, it just goes to show the hypocrisy of the rap game. Unfoonk basically did the same thing as Gunna. Only thing you can say about Gunna did it first. It is what it is. From what I believe, people have communicated with Thug, and they kind of know the feeling of Thug about Gunna. They know Gunna not, they know Thug ain't fucking with him, and because of that, they all shunning him. I guarantee if it kind of came out that Thug was fucking with Gunna, everybody would be working with Gunna. But everybody is going off of Thug, which again, it shows how stupid all this snitching shit is, because if it's now up to the person who's in the situation to tell you if somebody's a snitch or not, it's not really black and white. It's not objective, it's subjective. All right, whatever, man. Yo, salute to my man DJ Drama, man.